The longest tenured head coach in the NHL will be back for a 10th season. I'm CineSport's Noah Coslov, getting into the Bruins' decision to bring back head coach Claude Julien with Chad Finn, Boston Globe, Boston.com. You've been in favor of this for quite some time, so you do think this is the right move for the Bruins, right?
I do, yeah, absolutely. He's had a couple of significant failings last two seasons. His team has on his watch, falling apart at the end of the year to miss the playoffs. But I don't think that entirely falls on his shoulders, and I also don't think it detracts from what he's done here in his 9 seasons as a coach. He's the best coach they've ever had, from my point of view. He got them; they won their first cup in 2011. In 38 years. Got there, and a couple years later against the Blackhawks, lost a Game 6 where they led late. The defense just fell apart at the worst possible moment. But this is a guy who, when he has players who fit what he does well, takes them very far. And when he has a roster that doesn't fit what he does well, as they had this year, he adjusts and still tends to get good results. I mean, they had 93 points this year. They collapsed at the end of the season, but you look at their roster and you say 93 points. That's more than you'd expect from this group. So I'm glad he's staying. To me, he's the equivalent of what Terry Francona was here. A great coach who you started saying, well, maybe we're out his welcome. He leaves, and then you realize, geez, we really messed up there. We didn't get a better guy in here afterwards. And I think it was a smart, prudent decision, and sort of a surprising one too.
Do you have confidence in Don Sweeney to make the right moves to get him a roster that it takes to succeed?
I could give you a straight answer on that a year from now, because this first season, he's done some things that worked out pretty well. Bringing in Bolesky as a free agent, he's a typical Bruins-type player. He's done some things that didn't work so well, trading Martin Jones, the goalie they got in the Lucic trade, to San Jose, where he's thrived, although they got a first-round pick for him, too. Some real hits or misses, and I think once he reshapes the roster into his vision a little bit more, then we can judge a little bit better about whether or not he's the right guy, right fit here. But he had a mess to clean up, and I think he gets the benefit of the doubt there because Peter Chiarelli left the organization in such tenuous cap shape that Sweeney's first order of business was to sort of clean up the financial mess before he could go about building the roster that he wants to build. My hunch is, and my feeling is, with Sweeney and Claude Julien, that this organization is in pretty good shape.
Not to mention Cam Neely, right?
Well, we haven't mentioned a lot of Cam Neely today. You expect the team president to be there and be vocal about these sort of things, but they've set it up for him to talk next week. I am curious to see where this goes with him, because I don't think he's going to lose his job, but I think he's on a very short leash with Jeremy Jacobs, the Bruins owner. Jeremy Jacobs, the perception of him, and I think it was a fair one for a long time, was he didn't care about winning cups. He cared about getting the playoff revenue from concessions for hosting a bunch of home games. And 2 years in a row, they haven't had a playoff game at the Garden, and that's going to have an effect on him and how he views things. So I think Claude gets this coming year, and he's due $3.5 million too. So that would have been a lot for them to eat. I think Sweeney gets his chance to rebuild and restructure this thing as he sees fit, but if it doesn't happen quickly, I think Cam Neely, the Boston icon, is probably the first one to lose his job.
Chad, good talking to you. Thanks.
All right, no, take care.